Hi everyone, Kareen Erbe here with Broken Ground, and I'm here in my food forest, and it's mid-April, so things are still pretty dormant in here, but I wanted to talk to you today about how to plant a bare root fruit tree. Because I've had to replace one here in the food forest. So first lesson, you might lose some fruit trees. Second lesson is, if you've been following me for a while, you might know that I recommend planting bare root fruit trees. And what these are they're fruit trees that are typically about this size, and they come with bare roots. So they're not in a pot, they're not in a balled and burlap sack. They're usually roughly 2 years old, and they're the best way to establish a food forest, in my opinion, for a couple of reasons. One, bare root fruit trees are less expensive. Two, there's usually more variety. Three, they go through less transplant shock because they're smaller trees and you establish them in native soil. So for all of those reasons, I would recommend bare root if you can. In our climate, bare root sales usually happen at local nurseries around the beginning to mid to late April. And you want to put these plants in then while they're still dormant. And also because the month of May here in Bozeman, of course, is our wettest month. So you're getting that additional rain that helps the plant, that helps the tree get established. So the first thing that you want to do when you are planting a bare root fruit tree is you want to make a hole that's a slightly bigger than the size of the root system. So you don't want to shove the roots into a smaller hole. You want them to be able to fan out as much as they want to. So that's the first thing that you want to do. Then once you have dug that hole, you want to take a garden fork and you want to pierce the sides and the bottom of the hole. And the reason that you do that is that if you don't, when you dig a hole with a shovel, you're creating these really slick sides. And so the tree might think that it's in a pot. So you want to kind of rough up the edges of those sides so that it has an opportunity, the root system has an opportunity to spread fairly easily, especially in our clay soils. That's super important. So after you've dug that hole, and you're kind of, as you're digging it, you're probably measuring, you're bringing the tree into the hole and measuring to see if it can fit okay. Then you're gonna want to mound soil in the middle of the hole. And that's because you don't want that tree to collapse onto its roots, right? It needs a little bit of support there. So you're going to mound a little bit of soil in the middle to hold up the middle of the root system. And then you're going to fill it back up with the native soil that you took out of there. You also want to plant the tree about a fistful below the graft union. So make sure when you're planting that you're aware of where that is. And then water it in really well. As you're watering it in, you might add more soil. And then you tamp it down very lightly. I don't put any extra kind of support on these trees. I figure I want them to be as robust as possible. So sometimes after I've planted them, a couple days later, I'll come back and just make sure that they're kind of, after everything's settled, it's looking good. And then you can add compost and wood chip on top. So don't put compost in the hole. If you put compost in the hole, then again, the tree is going to think that it's in a pot and it won't kind of seek out nutrients farther afield. So just put the compost on top. Remember, we're mimicking natural systems where fertility comes from above. Oftentimes, right? The leaves fall onto the ground and get incorporated into the soil. So put compost and then wood chip on top. I oftentimes put rocks around there now too, just for protection from voles. But that's what you do. So you do want to make sure that that mulch is away from the trunk of the tree. You don't want to put mulch all the way up onto the trunk because that can lead to disease. With new fruit trees, you want to be watering them about 5 gallons a week. So whether they're getting that water from the rain, or whether you have to come in, especially in our case in July, and once a week give them 5 gallons of water, just make sure that they're getting that. Again, some of my older fruit trees in here don't need a lot of water, or a lot less water, because they're very well established and their root systems are significant. But that's what you do. So again, bare root is best. Bare root also keeps it human scale, right? You can do this all on your own, or with a friend, or a spouse, or whatever, and it's very manageable. Sometimes these larger potted trees are gonna require machines, which we don't necessarily have, or we don't want to rent, or certainly don't want to buy. So keep it small scale. It means that you're going to be waiting a little bit longer for plums, or for pears, or for apples, but it's totally worth it, and better for the health of the plant as well. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Bye.